This is India Tonight. Now, yesterday, the Prime Minister has said that consensus is needed to run the country. Just a day later, his government and the opposition unable to unanimously pick the next Lok Sabha Speaker. The NDA, the ruling coalition, wants OM Birla to return as the Lok Sabha Speaker. On its part, the Congress has fielded K Suresh. This is a rare contest and it's scheduled for the 26th of June. The Congress alleging that the BJP has been non-committal on picking the deputy speaker from the opposition camp. So it begs the question, is today's development a sign of things to come when it comes to running the government, Modi 3.0? Does it have a huge challenge from the opposition or not? Let's introduce our guest. Madhavan Narayanan is a senior journalist. He's back with us on India Tonight along with senior advocate Sanjay Hegde. He's, of course, practicing in the Supreme Court. Great to have you both, gentlemen. Mr. Hegde, Article 93, it says, the House of the People shall, as soon as may be, choose two members of the House to be respectively Speaker and Deputy Speaker thereof. Has this convention taken a backseat in the election of a Lok Sabha Speaker this time, as Rahul Gandhi says?
See, the Constitution provides for a Speaker and a Deputy Speaker. Obviously, the House has an election for it, but by convention. And conventions are healthy things in constitutional interpretation. The parties in parliament have hitherto not chosen to opt for an election. They have always had a consensus, and there has been somebody or the other, the name has been agreed on. One person will be the speaker from the ruling party, and from the opposition, somebody becomes the deputy speaker. That's how elections have been avoided. But that consensus has broken down, and it's also broken down because basically the speaker also has become a tribunal, very relevant in anti-defection matters, especially in all the various states. We have seen how decisions of the Maharashtra speaker, for instance, influenced whether a government had a majority or did not have a majority. So it's obvious that the government of the day wants its own person as the speaker and is not willing to concede even the job of a deputy speaker to the opposition. And this is the first time that the government and the opposition both have substantial numbers. It's a sad day that Parliament is choosing to go in for an election. And having an election means that whoever is elected may possibly not have the confidence or the support of about
so what you're
40%
saying is,
of the House.
So it is important. Consensus, you're saying, Mr. Hegde, consensus builds confidence. And this time, because we're going into an election where the government and the opposition don't see eye to eye, when it comes to the selection of a speaker, we have this kind of situation. I just want to highlight, before I go over to Mr. Narayanan, just highlight the two sides of the story, what we are hearing from the Prime Minister, what we are hearing from Rahul Gandhi. Listen to this.
सरकार चलाने के लिए बहुमत होता है, लेकिन देश चलाने के लिए सहमति बहुत जरूरी होती है और इसलिए हमारा निरंतर प्रयास रहेगा कि हर किसी की सहमति के साथ, हर किसी को साथ लेकर के मां भारती की सेवा करें, 140 करोड़ देशवासियों की आशा आकांक्षाओं को परिपूर्ण करें।
कि प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है कि ऑपोजिशन को कंस्ट्रक्टिवली सरकार के साथ कोऑपरेट करना चाहिए। ऑपोजिशन, पूरी ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है, हमने सब के सब से बात की है, पूरे ऑपोजिशन ने कहा है कि हम स्पीकर को सपोर्ट करेंगे, मगर कन्वेंशन ये है कि डेप्यूटी स्पीकर ऑपोजिशन को मिलना चाहिए। राजनाथ सिंह जी ने कल शाम कहा था कि वो खारगे जी को कॉल रिटर्न करेंगे। अभी तक राजनाथ सिंह जी ने खारगे जी का कॉल रिटर्न नहीं किया है। तो मोदी जी कह रहे हैं कंस्ट्रक्टिव कोऑपरेशन हो और फिर हमारे नेता को इंसल्ट करा जा रहा है।
Mr. Narayanan, now you've heard both sides and what they're saying. This will be the first time, if my memory serves right, since India's independence, that we're going to have an election for the post of Lok Sabha Speaker. Is this Is this something that is emblematic of a thriving democracy, according to you? Because, like Mr. Hegde is pointing out, the election of a Lok Sabha Speaker is very important and perhaps markedly different now in our current political scenario. What is the significance to you?
I think, first of all, let me begin by saying I have no recollection of an election to the Speaker's post, but there might have been. I think maybe Sanjay Hegde may be a better person to say on that. But that apart, the fact is that, let me take off from where Mr. Hegde began, that this is a critical post now, because earlier there was a time, partly because of the brute majority that the Congress used to have, also because there was a lot of, there was, throughout the 1990s, there was a spirit of consensus in spite of the fact that we were going through a phase of coalition politics. So there was a lot of bonhomie in Parliament in spite of all the other political conflicts. And therefore, it has become a convention to have the Speaker as a bipartisan candidate. But there are several things I want to say on this. First of all, let me, I was reminded of Mr. VP Singh today. Apart from today being the anniversary of the emergency, it's also the birth anniversary of VP Singh. And there was a time I was in Parliament, I think, when Narasimha Rao, who was then the Prime Minister, spoke about consensus. And somebody said, unanimity is not there. So somebody, and Narasimha Rao replied, consensus is unanimity minus VP Singh, or something on those lines, when VP Singh was in the opposition. So it begs the question, what is the difference between unanimity, consensus, and acquiescence? What the BJP seems to want is acquiescence and not consensus, because consensus by definition involves give and take.
Right.
The Constitution itself was formed in India through a process of consensus involving 2.5, 3 years of intensive debates.
Yes.
So the give and take in this matter suggests that there has to be a deal of sorts where it's fair enough to say, you give me the deputy speaker's post, and I will give you the speaker's post. And
right.
By asking for acquiescence rather than in the name of consensus, BJP
right.
is certainly stirring honest nest.
Right.
But let me look a bit beyond this, picking up from where Sanjay Hegde says. For the past 15 years, India's parliament has not functioned normally. It began with the India Against Corruption movement and the 2G scam, and then throughout the farmers' agitation. So one boot or the other on the foot has been there, but what has happened is that parliament has been disrupted even when the government has enjoyed a clear majority. And it gets more interesting when the government is in a technical minority, as it is. The BJP is in a technical minority in the current government. Let me add one more thing.
I want to take that up with Mr. Hegde. Do hold on to that thought. As far as the Constitution is concerned, for a situation that we have, if there is a technical minority, and I don't know if you agree with that, Mr. Hegde, then what happens when it comes to the election of a speaker?
No, there are no conventions on that.
Right.
And we've had minority governments
or
in
historical
India before.
data.
No, historical data. Indira Gandhi ran a minority government.
Yes.
Between 69, the Congress split. And,
how much
and
of that
71.
was consensus?
No, so that time there was no question of a speaker being re-elected, and the speaker was not a tribunal for disqualification. There was no Anti-Defection Act there.
Right.
Narasimha Rao ran a minority government. VP Singh ran a coalition which had a majority in parliament. So it's not as if we've always had a party in power which has had more than 272 seats. But by and large, all the parties got together and they agreed that this member of the ruling party, who doesn't have a history normally, or this person would make a good speaker to conduct the house. So here is what's happened since 1985 is that the speaker now wears two hats. He conducts the house and he also decides questions of disqualification. Now, questions of disqualification have got more and more technical, and having the speaker on your side is like having the king on your side or the queen on your side in a game of chess.
Right. So
If you lose
is this just alluding again to what Mr. Narayanan is saying? Is this how, like you also said, Bonhomie has gone out, but democracy in Parliament is not running how it used to? It's not normal, is what Mr. Narayanan says.
Absolutely. The Supreme Court, when it upheld the Anti-Defection Act, said that it hoped that the speaker would rise above party politics. It said that the robes of office change the man within.
Right.
But no, that's not happened. Speakers have become partisan. And when it comes to their party government falling, often speakers play games which are of a high order of political sophistication. Therefore, either party, both the ruling party as well as the opposition, want the speaker on their side. So the way out is, okay, one takes the speaker, the other takes the deputy speaker, and that's how things used to go on.
Right.
Now, even that is being given up.
Right. It is being given up, but we also got word from Piyush Goyal about this. Just let's listen in for a moment what he said too.
पहले लोकसभा का उपाध्यक्ष कौन होगा वो पहले तय करें, फिर अध्यक्ष के लिए समर्थन मिलेगा। इस प्रकार की राजनीति को हम की निंदा करते हैं और मुझे लगता है कि अच्छी परंपरा ये रहती है कि लोकसभा निर्विरोध एक सर्वसम्मति से अध्यक्ष चुनता, तो लोकसभा की भी मर्यादा अच्छी रहती, सभी पक्ष का उसमें योगदान रहता और स्पीकर वैसे भी किसी सत्तारूढ़ पार्टी या विपक्ष का नहीं होता है, वो पूरे सदन का होता है। वैसे ही उपाध्यक्ष भी कोई पार्टी या दल का नहीं होता है, पूरे सदन का होता है और इससे उसमें सदन की सहमति हो, ऐसे शर्तों के आधार पर कि किसी एक पर्टिकुलर व्यक्ति या पर्टिकुलर पक्ष का ही उपाध्यक्ष हो, वो लोकसभा की कोई परंपरा में नहीं बैठता।
So Mr. Goyal over here, Mr. Narayanan, is pointing towards laying conditions that the opposition is doing, and he says that's not fair. The Speaker of the House is non-partisan. And here we have this kind of situation where we don't have a consensus candidate. What do you say to that?
I have a lot to say on this, Vikram.
Right.
First of all, I have been in Parliament. I've had the privilege of covering Parliament. I've seen speakers like Mr. Somnath Chatterjee of the CPM and Shivraj Patil of the Congress. They were parliamentarians who had this incredible knack of building a consensus and accepting the mood of the House and determining everything. These were not times when Parliament was paralyzed. What you've seen for the past 15 years, out of which Mr. OM Birla, who's the current candidate from the BJP, has conducted proceedings. It would seem that he's not really fond of how that old-fashioned parliamentary style of conduct. So Mr. Birla's personality is itself doesn't quite fit based on the track record.
Right.
Now, let me add one political angle to this, which is being bypassed in this whole talk. You know, we can talk about conventions. There's nothing wrong. You know, conventions have been broken time and again. You can always say we can come up with something new. But, you know, I wish to remind you and your viewers that Telugu Desam is a very critical supporter of the government.
Correct.
And when Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India between 1998 and 2002, if I recall right, until his unfortunate death, Ganti Mohan Chandra Balayogi, GMC Balayogi, was the speaker from the Telugu Desam of a BJP-led government. So if, for instance, somebody from Telugu Desam had been proposed as a speaker of this house by the BJP.
And that hasn't happened.
That would have
it can also be seen as the NDA standing united over the choice of a Lok Sabha Speaker. So that could be the other way of looking at it, Mr. Narayanan.
As they say in Hindi, kahin pe nigahein, kahin pe nishana. I think the Congress is also trying to embarrass the BJP by pointing to the fact that instead of giving that bipartisan post to somebody from Telugu Desam or let us say JDU, which has very good parliamentarians, you are now trying to give this. So it is also a signal to the TDP.
Right.
Look, it is building bridges and goodwill. Now, let me now link that to what Sanjay Hegde was saying.
Mr. Narayanan, we're running out of time. You'll have to make it very
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, very quick. Not only in the case of disqualifications, which in a technical minority becomes very important regarding minor polities if there is a defections or anything. There is also this, every issue now is becoming political, from paper leaks to water crisis.
Yes.
So the speaker also has a lot of power on every discussion and every 0-hour matter in parliament.
Correct.
So the BJP doesn't want to give anything away. So they are treating it like a turf war.
Right.
So that is not going to work.
Right. So, Lok Sabha being a place for debate, for building consensus over different issues after debates, is an important piece. And for that conduct to be smooth, a Lok Sabha Speaker who is non-partisan is something that perhaps the country would want. At this stage, are the two sides, the government and the opposition, seeing it the way the country would like it to? Now, that's the big question, and how this Lok Sabha Speaker is going to get elected, and that's not going to be too long to find out, is going to be a very interesting piece. Mr. Narayanan and Mr. Hegde, thank you very much for joining us on this important discussion. We will keep coming back to you for more debate about how this entire democracy process is going to carry on, whether we are going to see it much more in a numerical sense. But
if you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.